Oilers, you got a great offense with Connor McDavid. So I have them sweeping them.
Yeah, well, I don't think you heard my point. The San Francisco Giants have 3 more in the 2010s than the Rangers have in their entire history. So, yeah.
It's hard to get back and to get back-to-back wins. And I don't see the Lightning doing it here, so I have them losing to the Hurricanes in 6.
We don't talk about the 2010s because the 2010s had the Astros. And if the Astros didn't happen, the Yankees would have won in 2017 with the Dodgers.
He was close to Frank Reich, and they want Frank Reich back, so that's what they got. It's their discount Frank Reich.
Kaprizov and the rest of this crew, Jordan Greenway, who doesn't get enough props. He definitely is somebody who needs to be mentioned more.
Hi, this is Julie Dobbs. You're listening to Outsiders Opinions with Kevin and Austin.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to this NBA Opinions of the Week. I am Kevin, and joined for this somber episode is Austin.
Kevin, unfortunately, the Stars and Mavericks end up losing, but at least you have the Rangers, so it's not all doom and gloom.
Yeah, no, this one's going to hurt for a while. The Mavs, too. It was a great run, but I just would have loved it if they got it this early. However, if I could go, I'm going to go on a longer piece. You and I had this conversation before. I thought I was expecting the Mavs to make it to the Western Conference Finals. I didn't do it in my predictions, but I was like, I'd be happy with the Western Conference Finals run. They lose to Jokic. That is the series. Because I believe there is a series for a star for where he learns what a championship costs. And sometimes I was hoping they could skip it, but this seems like a lesson that they need to show what, because to me, they could have done it, but it would have taken astronomical efforts to do it. They didn't. Credit to the Celtics. But to me, this could be the series, and I think it will be the series that teaches primarily Luka what it requires of him to win a championship. Because I know he was criticized. I think there was also Jason Kidd could learn this, Derek Lively, and this could really teach them what it means to be a champion. And credit to the Celtics because they went through that process as well. If we go to the 2022 Warriors, and maybe it was Brad Stevens that realized, okay, this is what I need. And this season, they went and got Kristaps Porzingis. And to me, the biggest addition is Drew Holiday. I've been on that. I'm like, I can't believe they got Drew Holiday because he was on a good, he wasn't on a cheap contract with the Bucks. Am I wrong with Drew Holiday?
You said he wasn't on a cheap contract with the Bucks?
I don't think he was on a cheap contract, right? He was
No, from what I understand, no. I'll check Spot Track really quickly, but I don't think he was.
I think it was $30 million around that area. So just to put him into your lineup with Jason Tatum making money, Jaylen Brown, they had already traded for Porzingis, who's on a big contract. They were able to make it work, and Porzingis played well in game 1, but to me, he didn't play much in the playoffs. However, it didn't really affect him. So to me,
for the Bucks, he made 27, 31, and 34. This past year with the Celtics, he made 37.6. Next year, he's making 30, and then 32, and then 35, and then 37.
Yeah, to me, that's a hard contract to trade for without giving up a lot of players. So that's, I think, just credit to Brad Stevens for finding ways to do that.
Yeah, Brad Stevens was definitely the MVP, I think, of this organization, and I'm happy for some of the players. I think it's still I'm not a big Celtics guy. I don't really like the Celtics all that much, but Al Horford, Drew Holiday, there's a lot of these players on these teams, and then Brad Stevens, who couldn't win a title with Butler, couldn't win a title as a head coach, but as a GM, and one of the best GMs in the NBA, I will say, he does get it done, and I'm happy for him.
Yeah, I think I'm not really a huge fan of the Celtics right now. But yeah, Al Horford finally gets a ring. Drew Holiday. I just feel if you're the Bucks, you gotta be like, how did we let Drew Holiday go?
I do think that a lot of people need to start understanding like, there's a lot of big LeBron fans and talk about how LeBron at 39 is playing so well. I need that conversation regarding Al Horford. I need people to understand how crazy it is that Al Horford was the starting center at 38 for a NBA title team, and rightly so. He deserved to be there, deserved to be in that opportunity, and was very good these playoffs.
He stepped in for KP. Or my bad.
Yeah, and he led the entire playoffs in 2-point percentage, shooting 72% on 2-point shots. Shot 37% from three on 5 attempts per game. Averaged 9 and 7 on almost a steal and almost a block per game. I can't explain to you how impressive it is that a 38-year-old is doing that. There's not many, especially at his position, the way he plays. Like, we've seen the Kareems or the Karl Malones that are just very paint-based, but Al Horford changing his game to be a shooter. He can guard wings. He can guard centers. He can guard anybody on the court. And during the finals, Kevin, he shot 52% from the field and 47% from three. 52-47 from your starting center is remarkable. While he also had over a steal per game and about half a block per game. So I have to show Al Horford some love. I remember still when he knocked out my Wizards a couple years ago back in 2015, but I have a lot of respect for him. I understand his spot, and he is extremely impressive. I think longevity means a lot more than people give it credit for. Like, as a career, playing for this long, Al Horford has never not been a starting caliber player. His entire career, Kevin, including this season, he's been a starting caliber player. He was the best center in the finals. He was better than Lively. He was better than Gaffney. And because of KP's injury, he was better than KP. And to do that at 38, unheard of.
Yeah, and I will go on to add, he made it, his presence and just his ability, as you talked about, it was a luxury to have him as the six-man player. He was healthy. But when KP wasn't healthy, which I think we all expected, he was able to fill in, and the Celtics didn't really miss a beat. I don't think you can see a team like we've seen it. When KP wasn't healthy with the Mavs, they couldn't win a series. Wizards, they didn't make it that far. But that's the key with Porzingis. And to me, I also think him and Drew Holiday just make this team work so well together. And
like, I understand what you're saying about KP, but the problem with the Celtics is that they don't just have a good backup. They have a starting caliber player, a top 15 center in the league at the very least. He would start on the majority of teams, in my opinion.
Yes.
And that is crazy. That really is crazy.
It's crazy how all these players fit. And like, I'm not that well versed in the cap, but I don't know how they did that. To me, that just speaks to Brad Stevens. They worked this to where I also think I heard people talk about this, and I agree with it. You could take a lot of the players on the Celtics and put them on the Mavs, and they'd be the third best player on the Mavericks. Like Derek White, he was just a killer with his threes. Drew Holiday. So to me, they were the better team. Like, I know they won, but better team aspect. They just had such a well-built roster. When you look at the Mavs, they did get better from where they were, but this roster had a lot of trouble, and it depended a lot on Luka and Kyrie. And we just saw in Game 5, they ran out of steam. Kyrie never could really get it done in Boston. And yeah, so that's, to me, it was just the level. And I do think their defense and just the type of players they have for Celtics hurt the role players, because they didn't need to always double Luka or Kyrie. They could play them 1v1 and make them work.
Yeah, and what a team. I mean, they're one of the best teams in NBA history. They lost 3 games all playoffs. Boston did. That's remarkable. They had, again, a net rating that's just like the 2017 Warriors, the exact same. It is truly remarkable what this team has been able to do. But I think we can kind of go on to the Mavs. Luka had maybe the worst playoff game of his entire career in Game 5. I know that he eventually started to turn it on in the fourth quarter when it really didn't matter. But I think him and Tatum both stat padded at the end of that game.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought you were going to say game 3. Game 3 was probably like one of his worst.
I think
my
worst
opinion.
moment, yeah, because he was stupid to take that foul.
Yeah.
But if we're talking game, Luka really did not show up in game 5, and I don't think that's necessarily true for game 3. He just got in his own head. Definitely not a great series for Luka. He's had some good moments throughout these playoffs, but this was not one of his brightest.
Yeah, I think that's fair saying. To me, he did so much, and a lot was needed of him, and I think he just got tired, and sometimes he lacked focus, like we could see that in game 3. But I love Luka, and he wasn't the reason they lost this series. To me, that was like roster construction, like the Celtics. But there were moments where he needed to be better if they wanted to win this series.
Yeah, you make a lot of good points. I am very interested how next season's going to look for these teams. We will be doing a video on that shortly in a couple days because there is a lot to worry about regarding Dallas, what they're going to do in this draft because they still what is Omax going to be next year? Does he start? What happens with DJJ? A lot of those questions will be answered in a future video. But I do think also that Jason Kidd was outcoached in this series, and that is, I think, a theme of a lot of playoff series when the Mavs lose.
Yeah, I don't really know what to think of Jason Kidd. I don't really like him. But you got to give credit for him getting to the finals. However, to me, he's inexperienced as a head coach, and there are moments where he doesn't try. I think last year is a great example of that. He's like, this team cannot go, and he just views it as a learning experience. And I'm like, you can view a learning experience, but also try to win. So I think he's a great basketball mind. I don't really like his offense because I would like a coach that can set schemes or create sets. I think that's the right basketball word, right? To get players going. Like when Kyrie's struggling, draw up a play for Kyrie. I don't feel Jason Kidd does that. Jason Kidd's like, no, Kyrie can figure it out. Or even draw plays for PJ Washington or struggling role players to help them get going.
It's tough, though, when you see that like the Mavs on wide open threes this series shot 17%. Yeah. So it is hard for to draw up a play for a guy that you're not necessarily confident in. But I do think there's a lot of the way that the Celtics decided to guard Luka, to guard Kyrie, I do think could have been adjusted by the Mavs to kind of change how they ran their offensive sets, who to play through, who to dribble the ball up. But Jason Kidd did not make the necessary adjustments, and Joe Mazzulla deserved a ring.
Yeah. And credit to the Celtics. Congrats. They are a great team. It's just bittersweet for me.
Yeah, you make great points. I'm excited for next year. We'll have to see if either of these teams can make it back.
Yeah, I think the Celtics have a better chance just because of how good the West is. That's what I think. It could be a while till the Mavs make it back, especially since I believe this upcoming year is Kyrie's the last year. Because yes. I believe his player... Yeah, okay, that's why I couldn't remember. He would have to do a player option to get in 3, and I just don't really know what he's going to do. So to expect the Mavs to be back here again next season seems pretty optimistic for me. So
yeah, I have one thing left to add, and that's no team has gone back-to-back in the finals, like made back-to-back finals since the Warriors, who made it from 2015 to 2019. So you really do have to be a dynasty-type team to make back-to-back finals. The Bucks, the Nuggets, some of the best teams we've seen still have yet to go back-to-back in the finals. The Heat have made it twice, but still haven't gone back-to-back. The Celtics have made it twice, but didn't go back-to-back to the finals. So I do think it's really tough for either of these teams to make it back. I do think the Celtics have a good chance, but it's really hard. Mm-hmm. And there's also one more thing I'd like to mention that I did. Back-to-back years, Kevin, I have predicted the NBA champion in our playoff prediction. I would like to pat my back a little bit. I don't think that's as easy as people think it is.
Yeah, especially not. Yeah. Who did? Yeah, I had Celtics making it, but I had losing to the Nuggets.
Yeah.
Credit to you. I forgot. Yeah, back-to-back.
Yep. And Kevin could have back-to-back in the NHL if Florida does end up winning, correct?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, I did predict Florida. We've had some good runs as a channel with predicting champions. So
we have, and that continues.
Yep. And so make sure you're following us all for that, and make sure to follow that. I'll toss this over to Austin to close it out.
Yeah, thank you guys for listening. Please let us know what you thought about this series. It was a little bit shorter than we all would have liked, but please catch us in our next video.